Hey everyone, it's been a while since I've made a formal update video for the channel. Haven't done one of those since August, and it's one of those things where it feels like absolutely no time has passed since August 1st and November 1st. Feels like it just went by in the blink of an eye, and yet at the same time it feels like August was about 17 years ago. Spending a significant portion of time writing, recording, and editing these types of videos can really mess with your perception of time, as it turns out. Yeah, like I said in the August update video, I don't intend to make these sort of updates a monthly thing, because I'm not always going to have things to talk about every month. September, for instance, was very smooth sailing. Well, I mean, smooth sailing in terms of the videos that I produced, that being that it was just Incredibles 2 all month, with one Lightyear reaction at the beginning of the month. As far as actually getting those videos out the door, it was not at all smooth sailing, but that's a different topic. And then October, as you'll hear me talk about shortly, was a month full of just preparation, planning, and recording a bunch of stuff. But it was not a month full of video releases, except for the chat that I had with Patricia Taxon that I released a little over a week ago. And I've gotten comments asking me when the next video is coming out, how production on a bunch of different projects is coming along, and just a general sense of frustration as to the increasingly long gap in time between the end of Incredibles 2 and the start of my next big project. So I understand that frustration, so today I'm here to provide you somewhat of an explanation for what I was up to in October and why videos have been taking so long to get done, as well as just giving you a bit of an updated look at everything you can expect to see on my channel for the rest of the year. As always, I'll have timestamps in the description if you want to jump around to the topic you're most interested in, but that's all I have to say for preamble, so let's just go. Let's just jump into this. No script, no pre-planned teleprompter for what I want to say today. I just got some bullet points I want to go over, and we got a lot of ground to cover today. So to begin with, what have I been up to recently? What did my October look like? Well, October was full of just writing scripts and recording a couple things. I didn't really do any heavy editing on projects. I did some for a few small things here and there, like obviously I edited together the chat that I had, but that was just chopping up the audio to cut out all the pauses and gaps between sentences, and then all I did for visual edits was just a static image of a generic Pixar wallpaper that I stretched out to last the whole video. And I also did some editing for some movie reactions that I'll talk about a bit later in this update video, but nothing as intensive as my Incredibles 2 series. October was a month of early production work on projects. I had wanted to start getting some of this early prep work done with outlining and writing and a bunch of that stuff. I wanted to try to do that for my next series in September while I was finishing up Incredibles 2, but Incredibles 2 wound up taking a lot more time to put together and finish up than I expected, so that got pushed to October, unfortunately. And even then, this month it was a bit scattershot in terms of how frequently I was able to get stuff done in that regard, because some stuff came up in my personal life that I had to attend to that stilted my workflow, in addition to something else that happened at the end of the month that I'll talk about in a few minutes. But I did still make some pretty significant headway in terms of writing scripts, and of course, as I alluded to earlier, I recorded a couple movie reaction commentaries with friends, just like what I did with Lightyear that I released at the beginning of September. We did a couple more of those for some movies that I'll explain a bit more details about towards the end of this update video. But that's not the only reason why I've been unable to produce things at a more consistent rate. It's not just because I spent most of October writing that videos have taken a bit of a backseat, because I also experienced some major technical difficulties. I was editing one of the commentary tracks, and right at the end of the process of editing it, I was about to finish up and say, it's done, it's ready to go. My computer froze up. No explanation, it just a loud buzzing sound played in my headphones, the computer locked up, and I said, oh, that's unfortunate, and also my ears hurt now, thanks for that. But I didn't think it'd be a big deal. I figured I'd just restart the computer and then get right back to work. It was not that simple, as you may have been able to guess, because my computer actually wouldn't boot up at first when I tried it. When I tried to shut the computer down and restart it again, at first it would launch the login screen, but then when I tried to log in, it would just freeze again. And eventually I got to the point where it wasn't even loading the login screen. So I began to get very concerned about the integrity of my computer's hardware and or software stability. And I don't want to run you through all the details of all the extensive tests that I ran to try to figure out what was going on and ultimately fix it, but obviously since you're seeing this, you know that I did get it sorted out. Long story short, I did a lot of things checking to see if it was a hardware problem or a software problem, and then narrowing it down further based on that, and ultimately concluded it was just bad memory sticks I had to replace. I have four RAM sticks in my computer for a total of 64 gigabytes of memory, and 2 of those sticks had gone bad. At first I thought it might have been the motherboard, which would have been really bad, because then I would have had to get a hold of the computer, which would not have been something I would have wanted to do, because that's a bit of an expensive task, and it would have set me back even further in terms of production. But memory sticks are covered by warranty, so I was able to get those replaced pretty easily. once I was able to prove definitively that they were in fact the cause of the computer crashing and not booting up. Even when I got to the point where my computer was able to boot up, it wouldn't stay on for longer than like half an hour before it would either restart itself or just freeze up. Neither of which is anything that you can actually work with. Trying to write or edit or record anything, that setup is just absolute hell. Or at least it would have been absolute hell. But thankfully I got it all sorted out. But even though I did ultimately get it fixed, as you can tell, it was still roughly a week's worth of troubleshooting, and I lost a lot of time, so that I didn't lose any progress. Like, none of my files were corrupted, none of my project files were erased, I didn't lose any actual editing or writing, that's all intact, but I still couldn't work on videos for a full week, which was very frustrating to say the least, because I want to work on things, I want to make things, I want to be able to make videos for you all, I really enjoy that when I'm not overworking myself, so when I'm unable to do those things for a significant amount of time, I don't like that, I don't like that at all, I don't like feeling like I'm not making progress on things, I don't like feeling like I'm not being productive with my time. But thankfully, my computer is functioning perfectly normal now, so I can hit the ground running and get back to work. So, now that I am back up and running again, what am I working on? What am I prioritizing in terms of the layout of my plans for the rest of the year and beyond? As a reminder, if you want to hear about a specific project, timestamps are always in the description. You can go check there to see exactly what you want to hear me talk about. I'm going to start by talking about some smaller projects, or just things that are a lot further out on the timeline in terms of when they'll be released, and then we'll wrap up the video with the things that you can expect to be coming up in the very near future. So, first up, early last month, I put out a poll asking if you guys would be interested in me putting together a supercut of my original Toy Story 4 series. Because I received some comments asking, hey, why don't you put all 5 of your videos together into one giant video and upload that as a supercut for people who want to binge it all at once? Obviously, there was some interest in it, so I put out a poll asking if that was something you guys wanted to see. Not really knowing what to expect, but turns out when I posted it, it was overwhelmingly yes was the answer. 89% said yes, make the supercut, so it seems like you guys are interested in it. I wanted to have it done by now because I thought it'd be an easy project, right? I take all 5 of my videos that I have, stitch them together, make the transitions between the parts seamless, and then correct some minor technical errors I made along the way, like mismatched aspect ratios and dead frames and things like that probably only I noticed that really annoyed me, that I wanted to go back and fix for the supercut. But turns out YouTube's copyright bots get a lot more aggressive the longer the video is, because all 5 parts of my Toy Story 4 series are monetized. They have no copyright issues whatsoever. So I just took those same videos that are monetized, I stitched them together, and magically now, they're having made no significant content changes. I guess now it's enough to set off YouTube's copyright censors. So basically all the music I used got dinged, and a couple sections of clips got dinged as well. So the clips are easier to fix, they're just more cumbersome, but as far as music is concerned, a big point of my series is pointing out how they just reuse the music to bait your nostalgia with no attempt to be creative or clever with it whatsoever. So being able to hear that music is kind of important, and it's really specifically edited so that you can hear the 2 tracks for long enough, so it's going to be hard to sort it out. But point is, it's not something I can't handle. I've wrestled with YouTube copyright long enough to where I can sort through this as well. It's just going to take a lot longer than I thought to get it uploaded without it getting blocked by copyright, because it wasn't even like, because I stitched them all together and rendered it out and uploaded it, and it wasn't even that it was just demonetized, it was blocked. It was straight up blocked worldwide, nobody could watch it. So I still want to do this, because obviously an overwhelming majority of you voted for the supercut to be made, but it's definitely going to be a bit of a back burner project moving forward. But whenever I have the chance, I'll go back in and try to sort out copyright issues here and there, and then hopefully at some point I can get that released. Now for some other back burner projects, they're both about Halo, because I've said previously that I want to make a video ripping the Halo show to shreds, and I don't know if I've ever explicitly stated this, I might have alluded to it, but basically, I want to make a video critiquing Halo Infinite, and I have a lot to say about those 2 subjects, because for the Halo show, it's awful, and I want to shout about that to the world, because there is so much about it that is atrocious as both an adaptation and a standalone story. As a story, it makes absolutely no sense at all. It's completely fundamentally broken. It's utterly dysfunctional as a plot. And as an adaptation, it's just patently insulting to the source material in every way imaginable. But it's kind of a low priority project for me now, because as much as I really want to rip that terrible piece of shit show to shreds, there's no real time constraints anymore, because my original plan was going to be to get a video out covering the Halo show when the final episode of Season 1 released. I was kind of expecting to be able to write the script as I went along, but then the episodes actually came out, and I realized, oh my god, every single episode is going to take like an hour for me to break down every single problem with them, because it was so much worse than I ever expected it to be. So, and because it's taking me so long to write the script, I figure, well, at this point, there's no real rush anymore. There's no urgent desire to get it out in a certain time window like I did for Lightyear, because with Lightyear, Lightyear, my last Lightyear video, I should say, or my first one, I guess. I wanted to get that done very quickly so that I could release it generally in the same time frame as when the movie itself first came out. Can't really do that anymore for the Halo show because it came out all the way back in March and finished in May, so we're way beyond the point where we can even pretend like I'm vaguely in a window of time to where it would make sense to release. So it's definitely a low priority. It's on the back burner right now. I'm just kind of slowly writing the script in the background whenever I get the chance. Kind of the same thing with the Toy Story 4 Supercuts. What I'll probably try to do is I'm gonna try to time it with Season 2's release, where it'll be more relevant again, kind of like as a lead up to Season 2, we'll take a look back at Season 1 and see just how abysmal it is. Now, as for Halo Infinite, I love that game. It's my second favorite campaign in the series, but the thing about that is that praising Halo Infinite seems to be a bit of a taboo thing to do. Understandably so, mind you, because 343 has so fundamentally bungled their management of that game's live service aspects that Halo Infinite is basically universally hated by everybody at this point. And I hate to say it, but I can't really blame anybody because given 343, I don't want to go into detail because I kind of want to save all this for the video, but basically they had a chance to really recapture a lot of fans, and it's such a strong foundation that they have so thoroughly wasted. But there's, what I want to do is I want to look at the whole game from a very nuanced perspective, analyzing both the campaign and multiplayer from a critical lens and pointing out what works and what doesn't. I don't want to make a strictly in defense of Halo Infinite video. I don't want to make a strictly Halo Infinite sucks video, because there's a lot I love about that game, both campaign and multiplayer, but it's also a lot of stuff mainly in the multiplayer. There's a couple things in the campaign that kind of annoy me, but most of the problems with that come from multiplayer. But basically, I just want to look at the whole game as overall and point out what works, what doesn't, what I like, what I don't. Because I have a lot to say about that game that I don't really get to see pointed out, mainly because a lot of the discourse is just bogged down by 343's rampant incompetence. Like every time there's something about the game that's positive, it's immediately undercut by something else that's terrible that's happening. It's like, oh, co-op is finally getting added to the game a year later. Yay, that's something. Oops, did I forget to tell you that we're actually cutting split-screen co-op, despite the fact that we explicitly promised that it would be in every single Halo game after Halo 5, where they didn't have it, and it was a big mistake? Oh well, guess we kind of forgot about that. I have a lot to say about Halo Infinite, and I want to make a video about it one day, but I understand that it's probably not something a lot of you are super interested in, because I don't think there's much of an interest for talking about Halo on the channel, but I'm passionate about it, I want to make a video about it, and what I'm probably going to do is I originally wanted to get the video out in time for the games, or for the campaign's 1-year anniversary on December 8th, but since the winter update is coming, also known as the game actually properly launching for the first time, because wowie zowie, you can finally replay the campaign missions individually. Holy cow, what a revolutionary new feature that definitely should have launched with the game last year. Oh my god, I can play with my friends now? Wow! Who'd have guessed it? And Forge is finally getting added, so I'll tinker around with all that stuff. I'll see. I'm gonna run through the game with some friends and really put that game through its paces, because we played it during the test, during the beta over the summer, and co-op was broken, so I am really hoping that they fixed all those things, because that was one of the most miserable experiences I've ever had playing Halo Infinite on co-op. It was a disaster, and I hope that works, hope the mission replay works, hope that Forge is good. So basically, when the winter update comes out, I want to put the game through its paces over the holiday season, and then we'll come back early next year, probably around the time of Season 3, and take a really in-depth look at Halo Infinite as a whole. Okay, that's enough about Halo. Back to some more Pixar stuff, shall we? So, I mentioned at the end of Incredibles 2 that I want to make a video about cars on the road, and that one's almost done. That is the closest project that I currently have to completion. The script is finished, and it's been redrafted, and the commentary has been recorded. And as you're watching this, I'm probably actively editing the video. It'll be one video instead of a series, which is interesting, because this is a TV show instead of one movie. Although, to say it's a TV show is a bit of a stretch. It's more like a collection of shorts that I think if you add up the runtime, it amounts to about the length of a standard movie. So, I guess not too weird to be making a video about a series where all my other series about movies are longer, but whatever. Point is, my Cars on the Road video will be about an hour long, and I'm excited because I don't think anybody's actually watched Cars on the Road, or at least it doesn't seem like a lot of people have done so, because nobody ever talks about it for any reason. Like I think I saw one, maybe two videos on YouTube, not watched them, just seen them pop up that I've seen talking about Cars on the Road, but I haven't seen anybody anywhere discuss this show, even in passing. So I'm looking forward to getting a video out there about it, because I had a strong reaction to it, to put it lightly. Obviously, because I was honestly kind of expecting to not have to cover it at all, but then I watched it, and I have some things to say about it. And you wanted to wait too long for it, though. Again, I'm not promising release dates anymore, because I did that for Incredibles 2, and I put a Sorry about this. I put an incredible amount of stress on myself, so I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to promise a release date and then have to push myself to extreme degrees to get it done on time, and I don't want to have to run the risk of missing it and then disappointing people. So all I'll say is that it's getting close. I'm in the editing process now, so it shouldn't be too much longer. I don't want to promise a week. I honestly don't even want to say it'll be done within the month. I'm hoping it'll be done within the month, but I don't want to promise that because if something happens along the way, then I'll run the risk of missing the deadline, and I just don't want to have another repeat of Incredibles 2 where I stay up for a week straight getting a cumulative 16 hours of sleep over the course of 4 days just because I'm editing constantly. We're not doing that again, but we're in the end game now, so almost there. Almost there. Now, the other big thing that I mentioned at the end of Incredibles 2 is my second Lightyear video. Lightyear is going to be a bit further out, because with that one, I'm actually still writing the script. I really thought I'd be able to finish up the script in October, and honestly, I probably would have, were it not for the technical issues that I ran into, like I said, but I can't express to you how much, there is so much more wrong with Lightyear than I ever thought, and it honestly, my second Lightyear video might end up being my biggest project ever, because Lightyear is even more broken than Toy Story 4 on every fundamental level, but I suppose that's what happens when you start messing with the space-time continuum. Whatever big brain thought that was a genius idea. When I sat down to watch Toy Story 4 again to make my series on, I was blown away by how bad every single scene was. Every single scene in that movie is running on either broken logic or insane levels of contrivance. I really didn't think that I could ever be that shell-shocked watching a film again. But then Lightyear came around, and it's on a whole other level of idiocy, and I'm so excited to finally be able to give it the shredding it deserves, because I didn't have access to the full movie when I made my first video, because obviously it was still in theaters, so I couldn't go scene by scene, frame by frame, but now I can, and oh boy, it's gonna be a doozy. But like I said, I'm still writing the script, so it's gonna take a lot longer to get that done than I originally thought, but I promise it will be worth the wait, or at least I hope it'll be worth the wait, who knows. Then of course, there's two other big projects that I put in the poll that I posted back over the summer. Those being my Toy Story 3 praise and my series on I almost said Ralph Breaks the Internet, because that's what it should be called. On Ralph Breaks the Internet, and I'm still gonna do those, because Toy Story 3, as you know by this point, is my favorite movie of all time, and I want to give it the praise that it deserves. Originally, I wanted to get it out this year, but I just do not have enough time. My next Lightyear video has ballooned into such a bigger project than I ever thought it was going to, so that has pretty thoroughly eaten into anything else that I can do this year. Cars on the Road and Lightyear is probably all I'm gonna have time to make in terms of big projects for these last 2 months of 2022. I mean, maybe one or two miscellaneous small things here and there, such as I still want to make my behind-the-scenes video for Incredibles 2. That won't take me long to make, because I don't have to do very intensive editing for that. I can just kind of screen record while I'm going through my scripts and my editing projects and all that kind of stuff. And I still get some comments, people asking me what my process is for making these things, and I still have to technically answer that question from the 10K Q&A video. So yeah, I definitely want to do that, but that's a pretty small scale thing. As far as big reviews, Cars on the Road and Lightyear is all I'm gonna have time for, I think. And then of course, Ralph Breaks the Internet is gonna be a top priority for early next year, because I still want to do Toy Story 3 first, because it got second place in the poll, and also just because I really want to make a praise video about that movie. But I've recently rewatched Ralph Breaks the Internet, and I honestly forgot how bad it was. For those of you who don't know, my story with Ralph Breaks the Internet is that I came out of it on my first viewing really not having all that much negative to say about it. Then I thought about it some more, and over the course of a somewhat lengthy period of time, I came around to actually despising it. As you know, it's in the number 3 slot of my top 20 worst movies of all time. But I watched it again very recently, and there's so much about it that it's so bad. It's so bad. Everything about it is catastrophically terrible. And it probably didn't help that I watched it back to back with the first movie, but you know, that's fine. It's okay. I'm alright. I'm holding in there, okay. It dumps all over everything the first film worked to set up, so I am definitely fired up to rip that film to shreds for a couple hours, but you'll have to wait until next year to see that. But speaking of Wreck-It Ralph, since I just kind of alluded to watching Wreck-It Ralph and Ralph Breaks the Internet back to back, there's one last thing I want to cover before I wrap up here for today. In the hopes of mitigating the wait time between my major analysis videos, my friends and I have recorded some commentary tracks for some really good movies and some really bad movies. The first of which is going to be this Saturday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be premiering a double feature of Wreck-It Ralph and Ralph Breaks the Internet back to back. Because for those of you who don't know, Wreck-It Ralph turns 10 years old tomorrow. It's crazy to think about, but yep, well, I guess I should clarify. The movie technically has a different release date in different regions around the world, so it might have come out earlier or later depending on where you live in the world, but the US release date was November 2nd, 2012. So this week, and by more specifically this weekend, this Saturday, I want to celebrate the anniversary by watching the first movie and then watching the second movie and just seeing how it all falls apart. I'm going to upload the full commentary tracks for both Wreck-It Ralph and Ralph Breaks the Internet individually after the premiere ends on Saturday. And basically the full commentary tracks will be for that. If you want to watch the movie alongside us, then you can press play when we do in those full commentary tracks, and then you can just kind of listen to us in the background, because I can't show the full movie, obviously, because copyright, but I can just play our audio against the static wallpaper of the movie in question, and then you can listen to us as you watch. But if you don't want to do that, then you can also watch the highlights of both movies with actual footage from the movie in the background, just edit it up a lot so that it can bypass YouTube copyright censors. That'll be what premieres on Saturday. The highlights of our reactions to both films back to back. And we're gonna try to do the same thing for Aladdin. We've recorded the Aladdin commentaries where we watch the 1992 version of the movie, also known as the good one, the really good one, my second favorite movie of all time, kind of good, and then the 2019 version, back to back. Yeah, torture is how you describe that experience. The whiplash of going from, you'll see. I wouldn't want to spoil our experience watching that, but for those of you who don't know, Wreck-It Ralph is not the only movie that gets an anniversary this month. Aladdin, the original, I have to clarify, the original Aladdin has its 30-year anniversary later this month. It's insane to think, but yeah, it's turning 30 years old. And I'm still not done editing the Aladdin commentary. I have the assembly cut done, but in terms of chopping it up for a highlight reel and copyright and all, I haven't started doing that because I've been focusing entirely on Wreck-It Ralph. But I want to try to get the editing on that finished up in time for the anniversary, but I don't want to promise it in case it gets stuck in copyright hell, because that's always a thing to slow down those types of projects, is just uploading it and the YouTube says, nope, blocked worldwide, you have been copyright claimed, take it down and try again. Better luck next time. So that's the goal. Again, I don't want to promise it. I know I keep saying it. I apologize. I sound like a broken record, I know. But realistically, anything can happen with YouTube copyright. Hopefully, I have enough time before the end of the month to get that sorted out, but you never know with YouTube copyright. So hopefully those will tide you over in terms of content for the channel, but also in terms of you'll get to see me rant about both Aladdin 2019 and Ralph Breaks the Internet. Hopefully that'll give you a taste of what my videos on those movies, my full-length analysis videos for those will be like next year. So consider it a teaser of things to come. And there's also going to be some other commentary tracks that I'm going to release towards the end of the year, but I don't want to spoil them. You'll just see them pop up in your subscription box when they're ready to go. And that is going to bring us to the end of this update video. Hopefully, this offered some insight for you into what I've been up to recently and where all my products are at progress-wise. And hopefully, you're as excited about these upcoming videos as I am, because I'm really happy with how they're shaping up. I'm looking forward to getting them out there for you all to see. And I want to thank you once again for deciding to stick around to see what's next for the channel. I wouldn't be able to do any of this if I didn't still have an audience that wanted to see what I create. So thank you, as always, from the bottom of my heart for sticking around. Other than that, I'd like to thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for the next video, and I hope to see you all soon for whatever you decide to watch next. Goodbye.